Good afternoon, and welcome back to Cozy Up and Pay Attention, the Parent Edition. And may I add that this is now our second season. Yay for us. If you're looking at my face, as usual, it's usually 2 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. I have a set of parents that are going to be on here today for your listening pleasure, letting us know what they do, what it took, what they give to bring more responsible adults into the world. If you please take a deep breath, let it out. We'll be right back.
Cozy Stone is a multi-talented comedian extraordinaire who has a real lust for life. She also combines humor and motivation, where she is known as a humorvational speaker. Her youthful ways and positive light make her a beacon for those of all ages. Cozy has lived a remarkable life that has paved the way for so many. She had the longest running open mic venue of 11 years at Tommy Rockers in Vegas, called Cozy's Comedy Corner, through which she introduced many up-and-coming comedians. Before going into comedy, she was one of the first female personal trainers and one of the top fitness trainers in the world. She has trained many greats such as Billie Jean King, Roberta Flack, Andrew Young, Ed Bradley, CCH Pounder, Al Pacino, and Earl Monroe. As a former competitive bodybuilder, she also owned a bodybuilding gym for women over 40 in Los Angeles for several years. She has worked in top positions for HBO, Playboy, and Tony Robbins. She also enjoys volunteer work, dedicating time to the New York Foundling Hospital and babies with AIDS. Cozy Stone has a message that shouldn't be missed.
Bring me my guest. Good afternoon, the Hunters.
Hello.
Jannette and Herb, how are you today?
Good.
Great.
Very good. Before we get started, I always like to say to my audience every week that we know that there really aren't any best practices for parenting. There is no such thing as the perfect parent. Just as importantly, I like to always say every week, this show has nothing to do with parent shaming. If you're not doing a good job, shame on you. However, what we do on here is we bring parents on who sacrificed, who love, who gave up part of their lives for the benefit of others, which of course helps us down the line. Oh my God, I had a brain fart. So what I like to do is to see her, you make me silly. Damn, I told you it was supposed to be silly. All right, people, this is a really long time friend, and we're really silly together. But I told you this is my serious show, so let me get my face on. Stop laughing. Okay, what I'd like to do is give the audience an idea of where you both came from, because wherever you came from is how you're able and how you've been raising your children. So I'm going to do female first and then the male. So Jannette, if you would please tell us, where were your parents born and raised, and how old were they when they gave birth to whoever's your oldest child? Because I know you're not first.
My dad is from North Carolina. Mom is from Virginia. They were born there, but they live mostly in Springfield, Massachusetts, and that's where I was born.
Ooh.
And they were, I think they were, when they had me, you mean?
First child.
Oh, first child. They were 19 when they had their first child.
That's important. Okay. And Mr. Hunter?
Wow, that's a trick question now, because I was prepared for how old were my parents when they had me. So now I got to do some math. But anyway, my parents were born and raised in South Carolina, and then migrated to Washington, D.C., which is where I was born. And let's see. I'm going to say that my mom was 19 maybe when she had my sister, my oldest sister.
Okay.
And that means my dad would have been 24.
Oh.
I mean 23. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. So both of your parents were relatively young when they had you all. Um, so Jannette, did you say you were born in Massachusetts?
Yes, Springfield, Massachusetts. But I
Right.
grew up in California, but I was just a 14-month-old baby when they moved
Okay.
us to California.
So you're really a West Coast lady.
Exactly. I'm a Valley girl.
Oh, okay, that's fine. We accept Valley girls on this show. Um, and Herb, you were born in Washington?
Washington, D.C.,
Okay, all right.
Chocolate City.
So some of these questions I know the answers to, but I have to ask because I don't know you guys. I've never met you before. How long did you know one another before you decided you thought you'd be good partners?
Well, we actually met each other by probably by accident in a sense. So we met, and I'll be real quick, but we met on a video shoot. It was her friend that was directing it, and it was my sister's friend who was the assistant director. And Jannette was in it as a dancer, and they asked me to come in at the last minute. I came in on the last day to be a part of this shoot. And on the day that I showed up, I actually cut my lip shaving, so I was late, and I held up the production. So when I got to the show, to the set, I see this cute young lady in a loincloth getting makeup on, and she comes up to me and she says, "Oh, you must be the guy who cut his lip." And I was like, yeah, as I'm watching her walk away and going, damn. So that's how that started. And hey, being a salesperson, you know me, I close a deal, right? I had one day, literally one day, and I said, I might not ever see her again. And so I closed the deal, asked for her phone number, and the rest is history.
So to answer your question, it was probably about a year-ish that when we knew.
No, I think it was first sight. You might have thought a year, but he didn't think a year. Oh no, trust me, he was way ahead of you a year wise. So how old were you both? Well, of course you both. How old were you when you had your twins? I can't say your first child, but when you had your twins.
I was 37.
Okay.
And I was 41.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I like about that, or doesn't matter, what I love to say to the audience, as opposed to I have people on here who've had kids as young as 15,
Oh,
15,
wow.
15 to 18. There's a different parent that's a 15 to 18-year-old parent than a parent who are 37 and 41. You've done it, you've tried it, you've experienced it, you've enjoyed a good deal of your life. That parent is is more apt to give most of their time to their children because they already hung out. They've already had all of the what that they want to have. Correct? Now you already went ahead on my next question, but I'm going to ask it anyway, and you'll give me a different answer. Jannette, other than the lip. So when you saw her, was it, or got to know him, was it his beauty, his brains, or his brawn that you were most attracted to? What were some of the qualities you may not have said at that time, I'm going to marry this guy, I'm going to have kids with him, but let's pretend you did. What was it about him, some characteristics that he had that you wanted to bring into your life and into your children?
I would say it was a little bit of everything, but more of his brains. He seemed to be very compassionate, very professional, friendly. He seemed the main thing is he loved his mother. He really cherished his mom. And I think it's true. A man who loves his mom and has a great relationship with her, then he will have a great relationship with the wife, and he had never been married, and he was looking to, get married later on and start a family. So that's what really attracted me to him.
Mr. Brains, brawn, or beauty, qualities that she possessed. And again, we don't have to say it immediately, but as you got to know one another, because I knew your mind was made up, Jannette. So what was
so of course, the first thing that attracts you is the beauty part, and then that kind of gets you interested to explore it further because it can't just be about beauty. And but the other part about Jannette was that she was about being a partner. So as an example, like when we went to the movie, I'd buy the ticket, she'd buy the popcorn and the drink. If she actually took me to dinner one time, as opposed to me always picking up the bill. So that was like 10 points right off the bat, because a lot of times you didn't get that. It was always about, what do you have for me? What are you going to give me? And that whole bit. So she scored a lot of points early on.
Well, it sounds like you both scored a lot of points early on.
Oh, that's
so
right.
With your pregnancy, I knew, of course, because you're married, you're both of age, and you both wanted a family. So I don't have to ask, was it planned or unplanned? We knew it was planned. So once you found out, not given afterwards, but Jannette, both of you, when you heard the news, did you feel fear or fantasy about having a baby?
Oh, fantasy, 100%.
There you go.
100%.
Absolutely.
Both of you, fantasy.
Yep.
All right. You're going to put the pink and the blue on, and you're going to play baseball and football. And
oh, yeah.
Okay. Most people don't tell that real answer. I just love couples. I'm not doing anybody of people. If you don't have a couple, don't come on here. All right, now. So we know that it doesn't matter how old your parents were. We know they were both started off on the East Coast, but in each of your homes, you were both raised. What did you find once you got together? The kids are here. That either there was sameness or differences that you had to meld together. Jannette.
You mean between Herb and I, or my parents?
No, you're a couple. And
Okay.
what I have found in talking to couples, there are the man, the woman, the wife, the girlfriend, whomever. One doesn't want this to happen. The other doesn't want this to happen. And it confuses the heck out of a child. So I'm asking, what was it that you either both agreed on, or were there any things that you didn't and you had to make work because you've obviously made it work?
No, I think from the beginning, we pretty much agreed on everything. We both came from very good homes and very, solid parents and a good upbringing where family was really important. So I can't think of anything that we disagreed on that we had to kind of compromise on. We've always been very close to our own families, and we made sure that our kids are always close to us.
Right. So you moved to Vegas. The answers, some of your answers, I'll switch to you. So you moved to Vegas. Did you have, neither of you had family in Vegas when you first moved here, did you?
No.
Okay.
My job brought me here.
Okay. So when you had your twins, and I know you had some complications at a point, were you totally just the two of you on your own, or what kind of support system did you have in place to help you with 2 and 1? Herb.
Well, actually, Jannette's sister moved here a few years after and before we had the twins. So that was the support system that we had. So she moved here with her son at the same time, and our nephew ended up being kind of like Jannette's assistant when she went shopping and things like that. He was our babysitter at times, so things like that. Yeah.
Yes, we hear all the time about the village, and it does take a village. Of course, what do I know about having a kid? The reality is I do know what it takes to have a kid. And you can't just do all of that on your own. You worked, first of all. She's home. She's got her hands full. Those are little arms. You've got to have someone to help you more or less keep your sanity or to get it all done. So that's why I ask about support system. So you're pregnant. You're married. You're pregnant. You're giving birth. You're carrying. Either of you can take this question. What are 3 things that you considered before birth, before the actual, here's your child?
Well, one thing we considered was, I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. So we knew that, we prepared for that before. Actually, it was right when we found out we were pregnant. So I was working and I quit my job so that we could become pregnant. And, we had to do fertility treatment. So I wanted to be totally relaxed. And so, but right before I quit my job, we took like my whole paycheck and put it into savings to kind of prepare for the children and not having that income. So that's one of the things that we knew. And we knew that I always wanted to be the one home taking care of the kids. Well, we thought one, but we didn't know we'd end up with two. But that's one.
So I don't get to ask this often. So once you found out, because they don't tell you initially you're having twins, do they? There's
No,
time after you go on. You know you're pregnant, but you don't know. How far along were you before you found out you were having twins?
About 16 weeks along, something like that, like 14 to 16 weeks along.
That's 4 months.
Yeah. Well, no, you know what? I take that back. They did an early ultrasound. They knew that my hormonal levels were really high. So they said, we think there's more than one in there. And we found that we're having twins probably, I would say maybe more like 8 weeks ish.
Okay.
Something like that.
Was it still fantasy?
Oh yeah, it was. And we were like, because we knew we wanted two, and we knew that, with our advanced age, to get it all at one time would be awesome. We just didn't want to know the sex. But we were hoping for a boy and a girl because we knew that this was it. So we never knew until they were born.
Oh, that is so cool. You guys are so cool. Yeah.
So the funny thing was, we had picked out names. We picked out boy and girl names.
Okay.
And all of a sudden we had the epiphany of, well, what if we have 2 boys or 2 girls? So we had to come up with 2 more names.
Well, that only makes sense.
Yeah.
That only makes sense. Okay. So we're going to take you back a moment to when you were being raised in your individual homes. Our parents and your parent, you are parents now. I call it the yak, 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 yakking in our ear. What is 1 or 2 things, either of you can take this first, but I want to hear from both of you, that your parents said to you that you have heard yourself say to your children?
You go first.
Because I said so.
The good old because I said so. Where is its ugly head? All right, Jannette, which one do you have?
It would probably be if they were jumping off a bridge, would you do the same thing?
Something yeah, you guys are old parents. Oh yeah, I love it. Yeah. I love it. Those are the 2 that me and us who are older than you, those are the ones. Yeah. If so-and-so jumped, so I'll tell you real quick a joke of mine. Today, if you say to a kid, if your friend jumped off into the pool, would you jump? They say yes, but I got to take my cell phone out first.
Exactly.
Oh, but they would jump.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, but they would jump. But they got to take the cell phone out the phone. Okay, let's get, so I'm going to go a recap here. Both of your parents were not older teenagers, if you will. Your dad was a little older. You both came from good households. You were given the tools to pass on to your children. You were both mature enough to know what you wanted, how you wanted to do it, and stay home and get it done. And the children that you have in your house today, we as a society will get to appreciate that because we all are able to give what we were given. And so thank you to your parents before I say thank you to you at the end of the show. So now we're going to move on to the first questions that you chose. And the first question is, were you prepared? And you've answered some of this, but you do what you want with it. Were you prepared mentally, emotionally, and or financially? I want both of you to take one of those. Because you've pretty much given us some of those answers, but were you prepared mentally? Were you prepared emotionally? Were you prepared financially? And I would say, I'm going to answer this question for you because of the answers you already gave. She put her paycheck away. That was financially.
Right.
Again, you're already mature and of sane mind and body. That's another conversation. So we're going to say that's mentally and emotionally. With that in mind, we're going to move on to the next question. Your next question is that you chose again. Explain an unexpected challenge.
Would you say the hospital?
Yeah, you mean
Yeah.
once the kids were here or before?
No, they're here. They're here.
Okay.
Every question now is they're here. Those
I would
questions will
say,
help.
well, an unexpected challenge. With them being preemies, sometimes there could be learning disorders. So our son, we found out in elementary school that he had a learning disorder. Our daughter, she was fine. She was quote unquote normal, but our son, he was in special ed. For like elementary, middle school, and just part of high school. But I never personally like worried about him. That was unexpected, but I was, like as long as he was healthy and happy and here, those are my three H's.
Mhm.
That's all I worried about. I mean, I didn't really worry about him being delayed, although, especially living around here, a lot of parents tend to be super competitive. It never really like fully bothered me
Mhm.
because I wasn't running their race. I was doing my own thing. So that would probably be an unexpected challenge. So what we did was, instead of putting him in private school, I just got him a private tutor. And so he had the tutor, to help him out. And he's fine now.
Okay. Well, again, I went through painstaking to pose these questions, and the answer to that is, I mean, the question is posed and you answered it the way you're supposed to. Everyone thinks they're going to get perfect.
Yeah.
Life does not come with perfect. Having children does not come. Children, everyone's child, it doesn't come out whatever perfect is. And even if they've got all their limbs and their brains, they're still not perfect. But how you handle it is what I want the audience to know. And I say this show is more designed now that I'm in season 2 for younger women and or younger men who thinks it's just about having senseless or irresponsible sex and just get ready for the fantasy of it all
Yeah.
and not prepared for what could be an unexpected challenge. And I think raising a child, the whole thing is an unexpected challenge, but this is not my show. It's not my interview. Let's do the next question. And Herb will give it to you because Jannette did that one. Give me 3 disciplines that you enforced or you both enforced. So I want you both to answer that. 3 disciplines you enforced. And some of the things I put on here was eating hygiene, bed hours, cell phone, computers. Discipline has its own words. They usually go along with behaviors. What were 3 disciplines that you insisted on?
Probably sitting down at the table as a family every night. That was, one of the regular things that we did. And on top of that, you ate what was in front of you. It wasn't a special meal that you got because you didn't like that. I would say the other thing is that computer time. It was a certain amount of time that they had for the computer. And we even had the setting where it could shut down at a certain time. So, I mean, those settings are there for parents if they don't know that. So you can shut that down. And then lastly, the cell phone, early on when they wanted a cell phone, of course, because some of their friends had it, it was like, well, what do you need a cell phone for? You're either with us or you're at school. So they didn't get a cell phone until they started becoming more active. And that was around 12 years old when they got into things like, sports and what have you. So those are some of the things that I would say were lock solid.
Okay. Jannette, did he miss any or?
Well, another thing is we, everyone can do what they want, but we didn't believe in televisions in the bedroom. So they didn't get their TV until like when they were 18, because we didn't want them up, when they're 11, 12 and they're watching things at 3 a.m., kind of thing. So but they didn't get their first TV in their bedroom until they were like 18. And now they don't really watch it that much. They'll play some video games on it, but they don't really watch it that much. And going back to the cell phone, Chase, you say, Mom, I want a cell phone so you can call me. I said, Chase, here's how I'm going to call you. Chase, come here, because you're not going to be that far from me. You don't need a cell phone at 6.
Oh my God, I love it. I want you to know I got chill bumps about the television. This is parenting 101. I swear, I only want parents from now on. I want the husbands and the wives. I really do. Well, it's because you're on a united front.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Now, I had one person so far who co-parented to the T, and she and her husband are still co-parenting 1,000%. If I find those parents, yes, I'd like to have them on there as well. But husband and wife, mother, father, same household, same programs, same ideals, same philosophies. It's got to make life easy. It's that my way or the highway.
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely.
That is so wonderful. Like I expected anything different. Okay. The next question, and I know this one, but I want people to hear it. You wanted me to ask, did you attend parent-teacher meetings and why?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Oh, she says,
of course. I ran the PTA, so I was at every parent-teacher meeting. I worked in the classrooms, with some of the parents thought I was a teacher because I was there so much. But that's, the kids just loved it, and I love being there.
I thought you were going to say they thought you were one of the kids, but
no.
Just me, Thumbelina. It's just me. Right. And tell people why you thought, because we can't speak for other people, why you thought it was important to attend parent-teacher meetings and to be a part of your child's education process.
Oh, it was important because you really find out exactly where your kid is and what they're doing, and you can talk to the teacher about things that they may need to help them. But it's really important to show interest in your kid, and trust me, the kids, they secretly love it. They love it when you're a part of it. They love it when you're there. They love you being involved. I had one of Kennedy's little friends. I used to take her home because her mom had to work. So we would carpool and I would take her home. And she told us later on in high school, because her mom wasn't there, she had to work. She couldn't be there. And she said, I secretly felt jealous because your mom was always there. And my mom couldn't be. I mean, she was there whenever she could. But I think parent-teacher meetings are extremely important, very important. And the kid wants to know that you care. And that's one way to show that you care. Even if you work 8 hours, whatever, they try to schedule it in the evenings or whatever. You got to be there for your kid. You got to let your kid know that you care.
And of course, having twins, we were able to split up, Yeah.
Okay.
One classroom. So yeah.
Yeah. And again, their progress. If they are a little behind, you know how to help out. And Jannette, the fact that this little girl made that comment to you, I had this conversation last week with someone about 2-parent homes. And yes, 2-parent homes sounds ideal, but I gave her this explanation or this comparison. You've got 2 attorneys two parents who are attorneys. What do they do all the time? They work. Mm-hmm. Do they have time for parent-teacher meetings? Not really. Do they have time to just run over to the school when the kids needing them? Not really. This is important because that little girl will hopefully grow up and find the time, or maybe try to be a stay-at-home mom, or if nothing else, when she has kids, you hopefully will be an influence for her to say, I liked that Ms. Hunter came to school. I want to be that parent. We never know the effect that we have on children. Yes. And I would imagine when you were in the classroom, Jannette, the other kids probably behaved a little better for no other reason than you weren't the teacher.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They see you're a parent.
Yes.
You may not be their parent, but you're a parent. And,
Yes.
and so most of them know that they should respect parents. All right, let's get to your last question. Oh, and you're both going to answer this. What makes you happy as a parent?
I would say that they were happy. Yeah.
That's your biggest thing, really. You just want your kids to be happy. I asked them, what's your happiness scale? And they would say like a 9. And I said, well, why isn't it a 10? Mom, it's just a 9. Okay. No one's a 10, but as long as they're happy, that's all that matters. As long as they're happy with wherever they are. If someone else is, exceeding in this or that, and that's not my kids' level, and they're happy with wherever they are, that's all that matters. That's the biggest thing, really. Happy and healthy. Of course, you want them to be healthy too.
Wow. Yeah. And something else you said earlier, is you said whatever neighborhood you live in and they're competitive, the world is competitive.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Seems to have become more competitive, excuse me. And while people are being competitive, it doesn't look like anybody's doing it well.
Exactly.
You cannot be so competitive against other people and lose sight of what makes you happy and or your child.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah. Even when they were little, parents would brag about their, 1.5-year-old being potty trained. I didn't care. I said, I don't want to hear I need to go potty while I'm on the 95. So I just wasn't in a hurry. I just went at my kid's pace. I didn't care if your kid was potty trained. That's nice. They'll, just have them just whenever they're ready. I'm just worried about my kids, not your kids.
And listen, and don't put those kids in your car in case they got to use the potty and you're not here.
Because they tell you they need to go at the 11th hour. It's like, I wasn't in a hurry to hear that. So, but they're potty trained now.
I hope so. Doggone it, they're 21 years old. If not, this show has been for naught. So again, wrapping up all the questions, all the answers. There is, as I said at the beginning of the show, there's no such thing as a perfect parent. There are no such thing as perfect policies, but what each parent does, the parents who do their job, it's perfect for their child. Whatever your policies, procedures, disciplines, behaviors were perfect so that at the end of the day, you have healthy, happy adults.
Yep.
That will go on to be responsible adults, and we don't have to read about them or see them on the news.
I know.
Yep.
And if they're receiving a gold medal or special honor. That's what this show is for, as opposed to the crap that we see on TV for parents who didn't do their job. And that I'm going to own. No, you didn't do your job. Oh, my kid's good. No, he's not.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. No disrespect, ma'am, but he's not. Right? So let's get on to the fun question. And Jannette, I'm going to ask yours first. Here it is. If you could ask your pet 3 questions, what would they be?
My pet, I tell him, why do you go outside and look in the window?
Oh, wait a minute. No, if you could ask your pet,
my pet,
3 questions. So this is your dog answering a question. All right, so you did. Okay, go ahead. One more time.
I would say, what are you thinking when you're staring at me?
Okay. All right. What
Another
else?
question would be, why do you do these zoomies that he's doing right now? Here he comes again. When they run back and forth. Another would be, why do you wake me up at 3 a.m. to go potty?
Because I got to pee. That's an easy one.
Has he always woken you at 3 o'clock?
Sometimes he does. If he doesn't go out right before, we go down. Sometimes he doesn't want to go until 3 a.m. All
right. Well, let me help you with something. You take him and you keep him out there till he goes. He will not wake you up at 3. I promise.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Man,
I'm doing that
you
now.
can discipline children. You can discipline animals. I promise you. I wish like hell I put a tampon up there. Oh no! And I get up at 4. I am not getting up on your time frame. All right, Mr. Herb. Your fun question is: what cartoon character would you like to be for a week? Let me have it.
So I'm really curious about if you got this right or not. But my character would be Fred Flintstone.
No. And why?
Because I could just be rude and obnoxious and not give a damn about anything for a week and be loud and wrong all the time.
And that's what you got out of Fred Flintstone.
Yabba dabba do, baby.
Well, I'll tell you why it's interesting. And no, that wasn't who I would have chosen. The last couple, or the first couple who was on the show, he picked the very same one for totally opposite of everything you just said. He thought Fred was a family man. He thought Fred was devoted to Wilma. He thought Fred was devoted to Barney. So he made him a good husband, a good friend, a good dad. He was a good parent to Dino. He didn't find him rude and obnoxious. Rude. I'm going to put you out of the Flintstone Club.
It's funny.
It is funny. I mean, it is. Because, again, that's why we all have our own minds, our own thoughts. And I could probably ask this question and I get 20 other people to say Fred Flintstone. And it would be interesting to see what their answers were. Well, the Hunters, I have kept you 6 minutes over. I thank you for being a part of my new season. I thank you for being a part of Cozy Up and Pay Attention to Parent Edition. If you by chance know some of those people in your neighborhoods who are doing their jobs, maybe you can share Cozy Up and Pay Attention at gmail.com. I would love to keep the show on, and I'm going to keep the show on for as long as I feel like it. It has its merits, and from me and the world at large, we want to thank you for doing your jobs. We want to thank you for bringing other responsible adults into this world. And as I continue, if God lets me continue to age, I now know I won't have to knock your children out.
Thanks, Cozy. We appreciate it.
And so before, I left them there behind me. The other thing I like to say, and I just said it, tell that dog to stop it.
I know.
At least he waited to the end. It's all right. It's all right. He go for it. Is that we're on every Tuesday, 2 o'clock, sometimes later, because I accommodate my guest time frame. 2 o'clock Pacific time, Cozy Up and Pay Attention to Parent Edition. You can also watch this show on Cozy Up and Pay Attention on YouTube until I figure out the PR Connection radio thing. So it's always available for those who sent me text this morning and said, can I watch it later? And I thought my text was clear, but people don't want to read anymore. So I am grateful for you and grateful for every one of you parents out there who are doing your job. And until we meet again, my buddies, I love you both. And I appreciate your being on here. I'll see you soon.
All right.
You can leave because I have to stay on here.
Okay. See ya.